Okay, this is probably top 5 coolest unboxings I've ever done. So, you probably heard of Xiaomi. They've made a one-of-a-kind smartphone that I'm pretty sure nobody outside the company has actually seen yet. I feel kind of honored. They sent it here, and I've done everything I can to have not looked at it yet. And just before we get to that, because, you know, Xiaomi's kind of crazy, there's more. We'll start fairly normal. This is their brand new Mi Note 10 Lite. The smartphone on top. So you might remember a phone called the Mi Note 10. I tested it last year. I'm pretty sure it was the first phone with a 108 megapixel camera, and it was $600. Well, this is basically that phone but with a less capable camera, but it's $380. You've still got a flagship Gorilla Glass body, you've still got a flagship AMOLED display. $400 is the kind of price where you start to expect some sort of
accessibility cancelled.
Obvious compromise, but so far so good. And it also has a massive battery, 5,260 mAh. Alright, let's give this 64 megapixel camera a shot. Okay, very, very early impressions are that actually it's pretty good. Nail clippers. Xiaomi. I've got to try it. I barely have any nails as it is. We'll go with this one here. It's good, it works. Okay, we should move on. Alright, I've been eyeing this one for a while now. I think I know what it is, and I don't think you'll have seen this coming. Oh, that's a little bigger than I expected. Bear with. Oh. Just cleaned my room today. This is a smart jacket, because nothing's good unless it's smart. So you're looking at a jacket that regulates its own temperature. So if I press a button down here, it starts heating up. It's got 2 different heat pads, in a similar way to if you've ever used a heated seats on a car, that kind of thing. This is definitely one of those ones where it's like, why has no one done this before? And if they have, why have I not heard of it? Here in the UK at least, I mean, I know in some places it gets colder, but here I know that it gets to temperatures where people would kill for the extra warmth. You know, the kind of temperature where it doesn't seem to matter how many layers you have on, it's still freezing. The one downside to bear in mind is that, you know, it doesn't power itself. You need to have a power bank permanently slotted inside of it. But I can say it works. I need to get this off. Oh dear. Whew. Now, moving from something that's smarter than it looks to something that probably looks smarter than it is. We've got this. It's Xiaomi's writing tablet, and I'll be honest, it looks a bit like an iPad, but for the price you can get it for, it's definitely not like an iPad. Let's find out. Oh, okay, well, it's very thin, it's very light, it's made of plastic. So the way this one works is you get a pen, it feels like a normal pen. You write on it the same way you would, I guess, on an iPad, and then you tap that home button once, and it disappears. And you know what, I'm actually kind of surprised how well it disappears. Whatever I've written previously is invisible, that's it. Okay, let's give it a go with a quick drawing. As someone who likes the idea of taking notes with a physical pen, and just someone who generally likes art, I'm a fan of this one, and I've not used a product quite like it before. What I actually thought was really cool though, if I've understood this right, is that Xiaomi's now making musical instruments, and knowing them, this won't be some sort of normal music instrument, there'll be some sort of smart element to it. Whoa! Take a look at that. Oh gosh, okay. I like this matte finish, by the way. Matte finishes generally are quite a good way to win me over. So you might know I used to be really into the drum kit when I was younger, but as far as general musical ability, it's pretty limited. We'll give it a shot. That's talent. I actually carried on using this after filming, just till I could form an opinion on it, and the best way to describe it is as a great learning tool if you're actually wanting to learn the instrument. The app has a fairly limited selection of songs, but credit where due, with each one it does walk you through, showing you exactly what you need to do with actual LEDs on the instrument as visual indicators. Still not enough to rescue my miserable musical talent. Then there's the company's Mi 10 Pro, which is their highest end flagship for 2020. And this is one of the few phones that actually trades blows in terms of specs with the Galaxy S20 Ultra. But I've already covered this phone in a separate video, so we're not going to delve into it. But one interesting thing about the unboxing experience is that, if I can get it out, the phone comes with a 65-watt charger, but the phone itself only charges with 50 watts. So I asked Xiaomi about this, and they said that this is basically so that you only need to carry around one brick for your phone and your laptop. Okay, this one's one of those boxes that I can tell exactly what's inside it from the front. Do you remember that DJI Osmo Pocket that got released last year? That tiny camera with a built-in gimbal that can take 4K video for around $350? Yeah, well, this one looks like pretty much the same product, but for $200. We're talking alarmingly similar. There we go. It's a pretty boxy looking. It's predominantly plastic materials, but the construction feels tight. Now this is a gimbal camera, so the only real reason it exists as opposed to you just recording with your phone is that this should have a level of stabilization that's one step above the optical image stabilization built into your phone. And it works. I took this one out for a spin too. The stabilization is great. That much becomes apparent from the moment you turn it on. But I would say this only makes sense if you're being particularly active. Side by side with the Galaxy S20 Ultra's front camera, for example. It is wider and more stable, but the phone does do a better job with dynamic range. Also, I found the tiny touchscreen a tad finicky, but you get used to that. Let's go for one I have zero idea about. Any guesses? It's a shaver. Whoa, it's actually, like, seriously compact. The blade is tiny. How small are these people's faces? I guess I'm gonna have to try it. Didn't think I'd be doing that today. Still surprised and slightly afraid. I did try it. I've never actually used an electric shaver before this one, but it got the result I wanted. It was pretty comfortable and it's cheap. Alright, next up is the Redmi 8A. This is a phone I've actually been meaning to cover for quite a while now. I really like covering entry-level phones, it's just that I feel that more of you guys want to see flagships. Immediate reaction, without even having turned it on, this is a good first impression for $90. It's a plastic back, but it's got this kind of nice textured finish that gives it grip and reduces fingerprints. So $90, and for that, my main point of reference out of the phones I've used is the Nokia 2.2, but this immediately feels like it's kind of a tier above that. I like the Nokia, but this has a few luxuries that you don't expect at this price. A 6.22-inch display, a mid-range Snapdragon chipset, and a 5000 mAh battery. One thing I do like about Nokia phones though, on a bit of a side note, is just that they all get updates. Like even the cheapest phones are sitting on the latest Android 10. That's pretty cool. On the subject of things that are potentially cheaper than you might have expected, Mi True Wireless Earbuds Basic. I'll put a poll here. These are true wireless earphones. Guess the price. The answer is $19. True wireless earphones, $19. So this is by no means a fair comparison, but here I've got the Galaxy Buds Plus, which are about $120. You will notice a very immediate physical difference. There's no questioning that the Galaxy Buds are a premium experience in comparison. They charge with USB-C compared to the old school micro USB here. They come in a case that feels weighty and sturdy. Xiaomi's feels featherweight in comparison. And the Buds just kind of slide out of their case when you want to use them. I found that these ones almost need a little bit of a tug. But the sound quality. Wow. I wasn't expecting it. It is rich, it is supremely bassy, and genuinely fairly detailed too. These are basic earphones externally, but they count where it matters, in my opinion. Now, if you thought I had a Rubiks Cube sitting on my desk this whole time, you'd be wrong. This is a Xiaomi Cube. But yeah, again, I'm pretty sure there's more to it than what it seems. I could just probably... Ooh, it's making noises. I feel like this could be the fidget toy of the future. It's got a really satisfying click when you lock each section into place. If you're wondering what the inevitable extra feature is, well, it's a Bluetooth cube that pairs with your phone, which lets you do two things. A, visualize exactly what you need to do to solve it, and B, learn the patterns that can help you to solve it even on your own. And just before the final one, we've got an outdoor Bluetooth speaker, which I'm guessing will have kind of an even bigger volume output than one intended for indoors. Are you ready? Are you ready? It looks clean. I like the design language. It's got a dial on top. I'm assuming that's for volume, which is a pretty cool touch. Oh, that's nice. And straight away, bang, it's in the Bluetooth. That was fast setup.
Shen, ma, with this your result, it shows you have not been studying your geography very well. Yes, ma.
That's pretty impressive. It's louder than I expected it to be, but you might have heard this, there's a bit of distortion at the top end if you crank up the volume to the absolute max. Okay, this elusive smartphone, and here's the background. For the last few years, with each flagship phone launch, Xiaomi's released a transparent version. So for example, this is their Mi 8 transparent edition, and I thought it was epic. I thought it was such a cool, interesting new thing to do, but the phone did get a fair bit of backlash because the components you see here, they're not actually real components. These are just made for the sake of design. Anyways, following that, they dialed this transparent design up for the Mi 9 release last year. Again, not real components, but you can't say it's not different. But for some reason, maybe it didn't sell well, not sure, Xiaomi didn't continue this trend. For the Mi 10 phones, there was no official transparent version sold, but they still made one. And I mean that in a very literal sense of the word. They made one, so you can't go in store to buy one of these. That is insanely thick and heavy. What is going on there? How do I do this? I think I've realised why this package was so heavy. There's two phones in here. I know what one of the phones is. That's the other one. Okay, so this is Mi 10 Transparent Edition. I've still not seen it yet. I'm about to have my first look now. Wow.
A few moments later.
Couple of thoughts actually. So for starters, this is, in a way, it's less flashy than the transparent versions before, which weren't actually transparent. But the flip side of that is what you're actually seeing are the real working components of the phone. So you can see the quad camera setup. There's a 2 megapixel depth sensor, 108 megapixel main camera, 2 megapixel macro, 13 megapixel ultra wide. You can see the NFC tag towards the top, wireless charging coil, SIM card slot right at the bottom, and then the stereo speakers. You can't really see them too well, but they're on the top and the bottom. The specs of this are fairly similar to the Mi 10 Pro, just the Mi 10 Pro has better cameras. But still, the fact that this has the same 108 megapixel camera as the Mi 10 Pro, which is very similar to the 108 megapixel camera on the $1,400 Galaxy S20 Ultra, is cool. I'm getting serious OnePlus 8 vibes from this, in terms of the kind of price to performance and the way it looks. As for this last phone, whoa, okay, I know what this is. This is a Redmi Note 9 Pro. I literally saw this get announced a few days ago. So spec-wise, it's actually really similar to that Mi Note 10 Lite we took a look at earlier. But the main difference actually being that this is $299. And you basically sacrifice two things. It's display, you miss out on the kind of curves and the high contrast colors that the AMOLED panel has here, and also slightly performance. This one has a slightly slower chipset in it. Still though, $299 for a camera and a battery like this, that's interesting. Thanks a lot for watching. If you enjoyed this video, a sub would be incredible. This took an absolute age to put together. And with that being said, my name is Aaron, this is Mr. Who's the Boss, and I'll catch you in the next one.